But I think to find the meaning of life, we must answer the question, is there an independent reality or not?
Seem to follow that the odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions.
So maybe our whole universe is a junior high school science experiment of some super intelligent junior high school student in another universe.
Life. It's pretty great, right? I mean, we can think, sleep, eat, converse with each other, expand our knowledge of the universe, do stuff that nobody's ever done. We are the magnum opus, the jewel, the crowning achievement, the masterpiece of all our previous ancestors who have all lived, breathed, and evolved so they can form us, human beings, supreme deities of planet Earth and beyond. But what if there were no such things as human beings? All our content, cockiness, all for what? Nothing? What happens if we're just lines of code, only ones and zeros, or for only defining characteristic being the pattern of these two numbers? You might be thinking, wow, what are you, mental? Of course this wouldn't be the case. If this really were as you say, then how could I feel emotions, extend the extent of my knowledge, be loved, asked to love? No artificial intelligence could do that. Furthermore, how could such a vast, beautiful, ever-reaching universe ever be able to be contained in a computer? Even if it was the most beautiful, magnificent computer the world has ever seen, it would be no match for the combatant, beautiful, and magnificent world which so many of us call home. I present to you the simulation hypothesis. The simulation hypothesis, at its core, states that we're basically just glorified Sims. As we examine the stupidity, nature, and absurdity of our Sims, controlling them, giving them the illusion of free will, the same is done to us. Although it may seem immensely improbable at first, the chances of it coming into fruition seems all the more reasonable when we take a look back at the primitive humans from 100 years past. 1920, the year where World War I ceased to exist. The Spanish flu was on a massacre, our democracy was still working, and the radio was a brand new invention. Now think about all the advancements we made from the last century. Computers, the internet, the Samsung smart refrigerator. We can talk to anyone in the world at any time, fly to any place in record time, make intense algorithms for AI to perform our jobs, having weed legalized. We truly are living the life. But look what happened just within the last decade. Self-driving cars, smartwatches, reusable rockets, robotic surgeries, and this is just from the last decade alone. If we continue to use this momentum and obey the trends, then we are due for exceptional progress in technology, with us being predicted to be a quadrillion times more advanced than we are now, in just a mere 50 years. In the span of that time, we may find out what consciousness is, how to simulate it, how to make more powerful computers, and then we can suddenly make simulations of our own. Now, think about in 100, 1,000, million, billion years from now, if we're around, how many simulations do you think we'll have? Trillions upon trillions. And if we give the AI the illusion of free will, then they could also make their own simulations. So there could be simulations in simulations, numbered in the quadrillions, quintillions, sextillions, maybe even infinity. And if there are that many simulations, the chances of us actually being materialized in a world that isn't a simulation is slim to none. As Neil deGrasse Tyson put it, so you could have a nested simulated universe all the way down, but there's only one real universe. Now, throw out all those universes, which one are you most likely to hit? A simulated universe. What the simulation hypothesis states is that in the future, there is one of three things that is destined to happen. 1. Worst case scenario, we all die. Whether that be through internal conflicts like war, or external ones such as climate change, and there are no simulated universes. 2. The humans in the future decide that it is unjust and bad to simulate the universe, and henceforth decide against it. Or 3. The most probable one, beings from the future decide to simulate the universe, and if that is the case, then we are in fact, most likely, living in a simulation. But why in the world would people want to simulate our boring, mundane, everyday lives? Maybe it's because they're just curious and want to see how people of the past lived. Maybe they created something entirely new and we're just test subjects. Maybe they want to observe our behavior and human nature. Or maybe we're just used for entertainment, just as The Sims is to us. Look to the side of you. Look below you. Look at your computer screen. Those objects may not even be real. Having a universe built inside a computer, even a supercomputer the size of a planet, would be an immensely strenuous process. But having stuff rendered that's only in our peripheral vision, now that would be exceptionally easier. If that were the case, then what we're saying is the only thing that exists at this moment. Everything else would not be rendered into the world. Even the inside of stuff, like the millions of atoms that make up a tear, may not be real and only be programmed to appear when we cut the tear open and see for ourselves. Same with all our other senses. Touch, taste, hearing, smell. Our existence is a lie. They could be only programmed to appear when we interact with something that activates our senses. Our infallible place in the world, which we thought that we are the rulers of, are all disintegrated in one single instance, when we find out that we in fact are only ones and zeros, inhabiting a small computer of another simulation, of another simulation, of another simulation, and so on and so forth. But what tangible evidence is there that we might be living in a simulation? Well, of course there isn't any tangible evidence, but we can speculate. Have you ever thought of the laws of the universe? They're constant, can never change, like the law of thermodynamics, motion, conservation laws like conservative mass, conservative energy, and constants such as gravity. That might be because the program needs laws to abide by, and these are just set commands that the program needs to follow. However, maybe sometimes there are glitches in these laws, so they'd have to change the constants, even by only a small fraction. If they were changed by such a minuscule portion, then we'd have no way to see if they were changed, not even with a supercomputer, since the change would be so minimal. Or it could change within thousands of millions of years, which we would also have no way of knowing of. In addition, no finite computer can ever simulate infinity, so we could hypothetically use subatomic particles to see whether there are infinite subatomic particles in space, because since space is infinite, that means that a point in space is also infinite, which means that that point has infinite subatomic particles, hence leading us closer to the answer of if we're living in a simulation. Think about how realistic video games have gotten. Virtual reality can immerse us in a whole nother world, almost indistinguishable of our own, stimulating our visual and auditory senses. Now, just imagine how much better it's going to get over the years. It's going to be practically the same as reality, with it having the power to stimulate all 5 of our senses. If that were the case, then simulations could also achieve the exact same results, being identical to reality. Think about this. Have you ever been on a ride in your car, and a route that you take every single day, and notice something pretty substantial that you've never noticed before, like maybe a bench or a tree? Or maybe you're on vacation, let's say Tokyo, and you bump into a friend from work. You meet them at the exact time, at the exact place, which you are currently situated, which is a pretty huge coincidence that could be in fact programmed. Now, don't you think that these things are controlled by someone else, someone much greater, and we're also subjects, being forced to obey our majesty, and in return, get the privilege of experiencing the illusion of free will? Are we living in a simulation? Nobody will ever know. There's just too many unknown variables to consider with this hypothesis for there to ever be a conclusive answer, but that won't keep us from speculating. The lure of this question is immense, with us humans wanting to prove it wrong, so we can ratify the illusion that we're supreme beings of the universe, being God's gift to any other life that may be in this ever-expanding universe. The odds we're living in a simulation have been stated to be 99%, but recently it's been dropping quite significantly to the 60s, 50s, 40s. Frankly, it's unhealthy to live your life thinking this way, because that's existentialism, which is no good for anyone. Even if we are living in a simulation, we should focus on making this reality the best we possibly can, by making an impact for the betterment of it, and being part of something greater than ourselves. Let me end this video with one quote from famous ancient Eastern philosopher Zhuangzi, which really ties the whole feebleness and wonder of our existence together. Once upon a time, I dreamt I was a butterfly, fluttering hither and thither, to all intents and purposes, a butterfly. I was conscious, only of my happiness as a butterfly, unaware that I was myself. Soon I awakened, and there I was, veritably myself again. Now I do not know whether I was then a man dreaming I was a butterfly, or whether I am now a butterfly dreaming I am a man. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay thinking.